Welcome back, everybody, to another Toolbox Extra on the Educational AD podcast. We're going to be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to get started by giving our sponsors a shout out. These are all companies that I used as an athletic director. They're all great companies. You should be using them too. So take 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our Toolbox Extra guest, and then go and visit these sponsors because you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. You can schedule a live web demo to see their products in action. As you've heard me say before, probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an AD. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just loved the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We want to thank Gipper. Go to Gipper.com and let their team help you become a social media marketing guru. Showcase your student athletes, your teams, your coaches, showcase your program using the Gipper platform. Their tools allow you to tell your story, engage your audience, and grow your brand. And it's so easy to use, even I can do it. Go to Gipper.com. Start promoting your program today. We want to thank our friends at Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. We used it at our school with tremendous success, and so will you. Check out all their other great features. But if you're looking for a fundraiser, you just found it, and it's Snap Raise. We also want to say thanks to Beacon and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. Wall of Fame's been helping schools share their legacies for the past decade, but now with Beacon Creative, their Spotlight product is a content creation service that is going to supply you with compelling stories to go on your digital platforms. We always try to promote our student athletes, but we never seem to do it as much as we want. Using Beacon Creative, they are going to create those stories for you, and you don't have to lift a finger. Email John, it's John Townsend, JOHN, at beaconwalloffame.com for more information. You're going to be glad you did. Let's say thanks to our friends at Hometown. Hometown continues to set the bar for platforms for things like, digital ticketing, fundraising, website construction. The list just goes on and on. Whether you're an AD, a coach, even a principal, Hometown is going to show you how to save time, how to raise more money, and how to bring your community together. That's hometown.com. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. My assistant athletic director, along with thousands of others, got his master's through the Ohio program, and it was a great experience. They also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. You just can't beat that. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And we want to thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management, you name it, Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every day. And their athletic eligibility and clearance platform alone is a game changer. Check out Home Campus. And don't forget to tell them you heard about it on the podcast. And finally, let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Okay, Athletic Surveys provides you with customized sport surveys for student athletes, for parents, for coaches. Okay? The data that Athletic Surveys can put in your hand is simply incredible. Okay? It's taking the pulse of everybody in your program. Reach out to athleticsurveys.com. Again, tell them you heard about it on the podcast, and let them create that survey for you. Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. As always, you're going to be glad you did. Welcome back, everybody, to another Toolbox Extra on the Educational ED Podcast. Regular listeners certainly going to recognize the name Tara Rose. If not, well, number one, you need to go back and listen to her segments. She was part of our Small School Athletic Director book. She also has a full interview on the podcast that her toolbox tips are now in the 4th edition of the Athletic Director's Toolbox. Tara's a certified athletic administrator, and she's the director of athletics at St. Croix Falls High School, way up in Wisconsin. Just talked to her. They got snow on the ground. It's 75 degrees here in Florida, so I'm sure she's looking forward to Tampa next week. But Tara, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Jake. It's an honor. I love getting to talk with you and to network with you and the connections I've made through doing this and the conversations that I've been able to have. So it's awesome. Thank you.
Well, you're very much welcome. Thank you for sharing with our listeners. And I think I've said this previously. Tara's one of the bright new voices in our profession. She's not a rookie. She is a veteran AD, as I mentioned, CAA, and really has some great insights, some great perspectives. And she's going to share a new project that she's doing at her school with us today. Tara, what do you have for our listeners?
Yeah, so I don't know that I'm a veteran, but I am on year 5, and you learn fast in this profession. You have to, and we, as I said, we share, we borrow, we steal. And so it started last year. I used to always give postseason surveys, and I actually changed that to mid-season surveys so that my coaches get some data mid-season from their athletes of what's going on. Because when we'd have our postseason meetings, we'd say, oh, this is something we got to change. It's like, oh, I wish I would have known that mid-season. And I got that actually at the national convention last year in Austin. I had a AD share that. Perfect. We implemented that, but it came from, we always survey our student athletes throughout the years. Each season, I send a Google form to kind of gauge their interest. And one trend that we were noticing in almost every sport was that kids wanted to see a little bit more fun mixed in. I think we get so wrapped up into being competitive and working hard and doing so many wonderful things that sometimes we forget they are kids and they still want this to be a fun experience. And very few of them are moving on to college athletics, pro athletics. And some of my coaches do it really well. Don't get me wrong. There's some coaches that balance that really well, but it's also just so easy to get caught in the grind of preparing for the next game. And so that was data we were noticing a little bit. A few more of our kids were saying, hey, we want to add some fun into practice. We want to make memories. We want to have this be a positive experience. And it has been. We've had overwhelmingly positive results. But that was one thing we kind of noticed. And, me and the coaches, and my biggest thing is I don't ever want to add something to a coach's plate. I don't want to say, oh, hey, let's add more to your plate, because that is literally the last thing I want to do. So I told the coach, I said, let's brainstorm a little bit. You guys think about things, I'll think about things. And actually where it came out of is my student athlete leadership team. So my SALT group, I brought it to them and we started brainstorming, and we came up with the idea of warm-up Wednesdays. So warm-up Wednesdays is an idea of, on Wednesdays, the coaches won't start practice. They'll get time if they need to. The students will start practice with a warm-up of their choosing. And the goal was for it to be, again, generally more fun. Maybe they play a game of tag. Maybe they play a game of, maybe at basketball, they do a 3-point competition. Our wrestling team loves to play handball. They like to play just kind of different, fun things for their, cross country might do a fun little relay. Instead of running, they might do some bear crawls and things like that. And the SALT group really loved this idea. And the thing I loved about this idea was it added fun in without the coaching having to do anything. It actually gives them a little more time to prep for practices on Wednesdays if they need it. We always have practice on Wednesday here in Wisconsin. We don't have games on Wednesdays. And it allows kids to lead their team. Like, you're going to lead this. It gets them practicing leadership and doing this thing. So we kind of I brought it to the coaches, and the coaches were like, great, let's do it. And so what we've been doing this year, we've kind of implemented it a little bit, not a lot, but what my SALT group has been doing is we have SALT meetings every generally 2 weeks. And what we do is we play an activity or a game. I have a leadership lesson that we do. And then we spend time as committees. We have 3 different committees. And one of the committees is a warm up Wednesday committee. And they are working on developing like a note card of references for captains and leaders of different games that if they're not sure what to do, they have a reference. We want to make this as simple as possible to implement. So they've came up with some, fun little games. And the first one we did, this was actually hysterical because I told my SALT group, I said, okay, what's your first activity? You're going to lead our next SALT meeting activity. And this game was called Find Your Herd. So every student athlete got assigned a animal. So the options were pig, cow, dog, or cat. And then they had to crawl around on the ground and make that animal noise with their eyes shut and find the other animals. They had to find their herd. And it was hysterical. And our volleyball team did it, and so we've been trying to find just kind of fun, silly things. Honestly, a lot of them we use as like pep rally type games, but they're supposed to be 5 or 10 minutes. We play another one called Birdie on the Perch. So right now we're in the midst of developing basically a list and some ideas so that student athletes have things to pull from. They don't have to, I want this to be as simple as possible to implement. And so that's what our SALT team has been generating. And then they've been slowly adding these things. And I remind my coaches, hey, I need you to implement this and try this out at practice. Let those kids lead. And even if they don't lead something fun, they could also lead like, hey, I think we need to work on rebounding. They can lead a drill based on a skill they see may be deficient. So that's kind of what we've been doing and what we've been implementing. And it's been a really fun process to see the kids brainstorm and come up with things and how this has started to impact at practices as well. So it's been really cool.
Well, I've got, I love it. I love everything about it. I've got so many questions I want to ask. Let's start here. So you've been doing this now this season. You've got some beta testing out of the way and some feedback. And I love the idea of getting the student athletes involved. As it's played out, now you have all your programs, all your coaches doing this, right?
We're adding it in, but they're all girls basketball is doing it a little bit more. And so right now we're still trying to develop more resources. Wrestling kind of does this naturally, they
Right.
kind of have already done it organically. But the goal is to have it, really ready to go in the spring and then keep going next year.
All right. So here's for my first questions. Have you had a coach, and certainly we don't want to identify by name or anything like that. Have you had a coach or have you gotten feedback from your coaches, from student athletes about, oh, this is stupid. Why are we doing this? Has there been any just real negative response to it?
When I initially said that I think this is something we should implement, there were a couple coaches that were like, I don't really think my program needs this. And I'm like, and that's okay. That like, if you don't think this is a need, that's fine. Or we already do this, we're going to do it our way. And that's fine. Like, this isn't an initiative that I am pushing. This is something that, and for me, when I have postseason conversations or when I have conversations with my coaches, I want to use data-driven examples. Right. So when I use that data and say, so it's a lot easier for the coaches if their student athletes are saying, hey, this is something we need, I'll say, hey, here's something you can try. Here's something that we will provide. My SALT group will give your captains, will give your leaders. Majority of the leaders are in that group. Let them try this. And a lot of the coaches where if that was their data, they've been willing to try. But overall, I have an amazing group of coaches. Almost all of them are educators. And so they do understand the importance of a balanced interscholastic program. Like they understand that, yes, we want to win. Yes, we want to have high expectations, but a vast majority of our kids are not playing beyond this. And a huge part of why they're out for sports is to have fun and make memories.
No,
so I
absolutely.
do feel like I've had really positive feedback mostly.
Yeah. And
nothing negative. There's been some people are like, no, I'd rather not. And that's okay. That's all right.
And I'm not surprised at that, knowing you and how you presented it. Again, it's, hey, these are the kids saying, they'd like to try this stuff. Yeah, you'd have to be kind of that cranky old coach to not have a good response to it. I guess a couple of observations and additions. And again, I'm so much older than you, as an athlete and as a coach and all that. And I saw in my 41 years as a teacher, coach, and AD, changes in how coaches in a lot of sports approached warm-ups. And as a young coach, I heard this story. I'm going to guess this is probably mid 80s. A guy named Anson Durrance, Hall of Fame women's soccer coach at North Carolina, won 18 national championships. I heard him speak at a clinic, and long story short, he was kind of that old school mentality. Although I was speaking to a coach, I digress here. I think he was 27 or 28, and he's describing himself to me as an old school coach. I'm going, old school? What do you mean? When you were 19? Anyway, so Anson Durrance, regimented, coaches is either barking or telling out, okay, stretch this, do that. And he was looking for something better. And one day he got to practice late, and the captains did the warm up. And as he shows up, they're doing probably not, find your herd, but they're doing the women on the soccer team, they're doing all these, silly things, skipping and et cetera. And he said it was the best practice that they had ever had, and that he morphed into this lower intensity, free form, or at least there was a component of that in his warm-ups. And he felt that he said, and again, this was back in the 80s, so he said, this is, women need this, women need this aspect to warm up. I think we probably all do. But it was a coach at the highest level willing to, incorporate some fun. And so that made a big impression on me. As a football coach, again, high school, college, I warmed up the way I was warmed up, which is more of that regimented thing. I did it, and I always tried to make it a little more fun for the kids. Talking to each kid by name, all right, ready, stretch. But we came up with a saying with our program that a number of our coaches at our school ended up using. And we would say this as coaches, after we were done warming up, we would say, football is, and then all the team would say, fun. And then the coaches would say, but winning is, and they would say, more fun. And that's how we'd kind of break our huddle. And we had talked to them about this. Again, I didn't invent this. I stole it from somebody else. But
right.
The idea is, you, as you said, you come out for sports because you want to have fun. And we would talk about football in Florida. Hey, it's hot, it's muggy. You're wearing the pads and you're hitting the sled and you're getting knocked down, you're getting back up, and you're doing, gassers and everything else.
Yeah.
That's football, and that's fun. But we're going to do the things that winners do, like we're going to get to practice on time. We're going to support our teammates. We're going to go to class. We're going to sit in the front row. We're going to be respectful of the teachers. We're going to engage. We're going to be good students and good citizens. That was, the thing. Those were the things that winners did that allowed us to have fun playing football. So, you can draw any conclusions. The badge of honor for being a tough football player. I know every coach thinks that their sport's the toughest, but it really resonated with our kids. And I'll see, actually, on Facebook just the other day, I wished a kid that had played for us back in 2003 a happy birthday. That's a Facebook friend. And his response was, thanks, coach. Football is fun. Triple exclamation mark. So it made an impact with them. So now I'm going to shut up. Those are my observations so far.
Yeah. And it doesn't, and there was a coach that kind of is like, well, we need to still teach our kids how to be focused and do this and do that. And I said, again, that's to each their coach. I don't ever want to dictate what my coaches are doing at their practice. I don't want to micromanage them. I trust them they're professionals. They're good at what they're doing, and they are the expert in the room, especially for their sport. And I think one of the things I shared when we shared this at last spring's coaches meeting. We have like quarterly coaches meetings at our school, and then we talked a little bit more at our August meeting, and my goal is to share more resources with them in January, and to be able to kind of allow them to use more of those resources And so that's a good way to keep me accountable and make sure I'm doing that. But I also shared with them that I said, when I was a coach, I coached for 8 years. I was a varsity softball coach and an assistant volleyball and basketball coach. And I said that I used the story of a lot of times after a horrible game or a really rough game, I would not my first year, but as I became a little better coach or a little more experienced coach, I would come back and the next day I would do something just to get their mind off of it because it just wouldn't, it was not helpful unless there was things that we can learn from it. And of course, there's always things you can learn for it, but they felt icky. I didn't feel great as a coach, so it was like, let's do something to rally ourselves around. Let's forget about this. And I've also, and so again, just encouraging that. But the other aspect of it is it doesn't have to be fun. It can be, and I've told them this, I said, warm up Wednesdays can be your seniors or your captains. You can also say to them, hey, I want you to look at last night's game and say, you know what? We didn't do X, Y, and Z very well. And you implement a drill to work on that because it means, again, peer to peer coaching and peer to peer leadership means so much to the kids. When the coach says it, it's like, okay, coach has said it 15 times this year. When a senior or a junior or just a captain in general says, hey, we didn't do this very well in our last game, let's work on it. I think that just has, it's like the same thing that I feel as a parent, the same thing that I feel like, this fall, we brought in a sports psychologist, former student of mine, we brought in a sports psychologist. I've shared his tactics with my athletes, but it just comes better from somebody else, an expert, somebody new. So I just think that is important. And we have also worked really hard as a department to develop what leadership looks like. So our core values are integrity, leadership, and sportsmanship. And I've told them that, it's easier for kids to describe integrity and describe sportsmanship and what those look like. But I said, it's really hard for a kid to truly define what leadership is. So as coaches, we did an activity in August all together. And we talked about what does leadership look like? What does it feel like? What does it sound like? And so I had them work together, different groups of coaches. They wrote on the big Post-its on the wall, and we came together and we defined leadership in 3 ways. You're going to lead yourself, you're going to support others, and you're going to inspire positive change. And we've used that as our definition of leadership. And now we're going to implement that. So in this warm-up Wednesday, you are supporting your teammates and you're inspiring positive change within your culture. And so we really use, when I send an email out to my coaches, that's in that first part every single time. When I talk to kids and I say, hey, we're going to be good leaders, that's how we define it. I'm also very lucky. I have a super supportive administration. I use the same definition in middle school student council. We're using it throughout. And, I really have seen, are our kids perfect? No kids are perfect, but I've seen them grow in this. And it's been fun to see kids take ownership and leadership. That's my favorite part of this is, yes, I do want kids to have fun, and they are naturally going to have fun. They're going to have fun on bus rides and they're going to have fun doing the sports that they love. But it's a dual benefit of, hey, I'm going to maybe add a little fun or add just something a little different into practice. And also I'm going to develop leadership skills with kids. And that's the best part about it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and again, the warm up part, yeah, we want to warm up our kids, but the ancillary benefits, of the relationships and socialization and team bonding, you're probably, I won't say probably, you're gonna get more out of the kids as a coach.
Yeah.
We got to perform better. You're gonna get that because they had a little bit of fun and did something different. And it's not, oh, geez, we got to do, this again. So, no, I love the idea. As it's rolled out this season, looking, to next season or to next year, what's something, if anything, that you're saying, hey, we should probably do this, or, this would be a good idea to add or tweak? Anything?
I haven't noticed too much yet. The one thing I want to really give it doesn't have to be a warm up. It could be, hey, we do it on, it just kind of was a catchy tagline, warm up Wednesday. But I've tried to just encourage my teachers to be or to my coaches to be consistent. Hey, every Wednesday, and it could be, hey, we're going to practice until 5:15 or 5:30 on Wednesday, and the last 15 minutes, that's when you're going to do this. But I do think the starting point of, for our kids, at least here in our school, they go to school at 3:30, and then about 3:40, 3:45, they're starting practice. I think it also, they've been sitting down a lot of times. They've been in school all day. I think having something that gets them up, gets them active, gets them laughing, I think it also releases some really good hormones, some endorphins that just feel good. They're going to practice better after they've had a little fun. And I think our coaches have noticed that. My goal will be in our May coaches meeting to gather feedback from them and from kids, more informal likely, and say, how is this going? And the kids have, generally been like, yeah, I like this. I love that we're, doing more of these and we're implementing more of this. So overall, I haven't heard too much from my coaches. And so far, I mean, there'll definitely be blimps along the road, but I think the biggest thing is to kind of keep it fresh and new. Probably we'll probably want to add new things each year or try out things, just to keep it that way. But we also have new cycles of kids coming in, and right now I'm just really encouraging this at the high school level. The next step might be I also do I do high school and middle school athletics. So I oversee our middle school coaches. And so that would definitely be something that I want to move down to our middle school level, and do kind of a similar thing with them as well. So that'll kind of be the next steps within the process, I think.
Well, again, any good coach is going to want to continue to do something that makes their program better. And
Yeah.
doing those exit surveys with your athletes, hey, was there something we did this year that you really liked, or there's something we added? Certainly the feedback is going to be proof right there.
Yeah, absolutely. So
Well, Tara, this has been cool reconnecting with you. Looking forward to seeing you again in Tampa. If one of our listeners wanted to reach out, find out more about your Warm Up Wednesday program or any of the other things that you're doing at St. Croix Falls High School, what's the best way they can connect with you?
you can email me, you can find me on socials. But the best way would be to email me at Wisconsin, WI, Tara Rose at gmail.com. That's my personal email, super easy to remember that. Again, you can look me up on socials, and you could also look up St. Croix Falls School District and find my work email, my phone number. I'm more than happy. Or if they're going to Tampa for the national convention or shortly after, they can also reach out. Jake has my contact information as well. I would love to chat and go over more of this. And I'm hoping in the next few years to do, as we develop this more, to do some mini sessions and just kind of share some other ways that we can share this with other ADs too. So.
Oh, no, absolutely. And Tara's information is also in the NIAAA membership portal for all of our NIAAA members. Tara, thanks again. All the best. We'll see you. We'll see you in less than a week. And thanks for coming on. Hey.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you and remind you that we upload the Zoom recordings of every interview to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do Toolbox Extra just about every week, and just about every day we try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Great resource right there, Tara Rose, St. Croix Falls High School in Wisconsin. Make sure you reach out and connect. Make sure you reach out and connect with our sponsors as well. If you're not using one or more of these companies, you're really missing out. Let's say thanks to Hometown. Go to hometown.com, Home Campus. You'll find them at homecampus.com. A couple of platforms you're going to use every day. Ohio University and their online masters. If you're looking for a master's program that also allows you to complete NIAAA leadership training courses, look no further than Ohio University. Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Gipper. You'll find them at gipper.com. SnapRaise, go to snapraise.com. Beacon Creative, part of the Vital Signs Wall of Fame family. Huddle, huddle.com, obviously. And Athletic Surveys. Tara just talked about using surveys. Go to athleticsurveys.com. Thanks as always for listening. We'll see you next time on the Educational AD Podcast.